Hey, everybody. I hope it's working now. So if you can hear me and see me okay, just let me know in the chat. If you are watching this on replay, just say replay. Thank you for taking the time on this Super Bowl Sunday thank you for taking the time to come and join me on this live. This is my first live on this channel, so hopefully everything's going well. If not, well, we learn every day. So it's all good. So I'm going to assume that it's working. So hi everybody, my name is Linda Eno. For those of you who don't know me, I am the face behind Tokende Travel. And those of you who know me under the Linda Eno PhD YouTube channel, that's my content marketing YouTube channel for my marketing business. And Tokende Travel is for my travel and tourism consulting business. So welcome here if you're new. If you are not new, well, welcome back. So today I wanted to do a little, it's not going to be too long because it's Super Bowl Sunday, obviously, but I wanted to talk a little bit about how to get started with your planning for your move to the continent. I know that many of you are making the plan to move, and some of you are just thinking and not really sure where to get started. So I wanted to do a little video to help you with to give you a few guidelines on how to get started with your plan. Okay, so those of you who don't know me at all, well, my name is Linda Eno. Again, I am by trade a tourism consultant and content marketing strategist, but I'm also a wife, a mom of 4 kids under the age of 9. So very, very busy, but I also enjoy I enjoy spending time with my community and all of that. So I really wanted to go live and share a little bit more about me and about this plan, how you can put this plan together for your move to the motherland, as well as, as my family is planning. I felt like it was very important to share that process because a lot of people are on YouTube, but they have already made that transition and they're telling you about their life there. And I wanted to share the process of, getting ready for it, whether you have all the answers or none of the answers. I mean, we don't have all the answers yet, but I wanted to share that process with you guys because I know that a lot of people are in that situation where they are, they want to see the process because that's something that I wanted to see from other people on YouTube. So if you've noticed, this channel actually I started it 7 years ago, and it was all about travel with kids because back then my first one I think was just born or he was 1 year old, and so I wanted to talk about traveling with kids. And then I kind of stopped a little bit because I got busy with life. And then last year, I restarted the channel and to talk more about travel to Africa and specifically documenting our move to Africa. So there are a few videos where I share about where exactly we're trying to go and how we haven't really decided on where exactly we're going. So we are contemplating Cote d'Ivoire and Cameroon. That's why you have a lot of content about Cote d'Ivoire because we just went on a scouting trip to Cote d'Ivoire a few months ago, and we're going on a scouting trip to Cameroon in just a few months. So you're going to see a lot of Cameroon-based content after that coming up soon. Okay, so um, you will see a lot of YouTubers, mostly in the US, the UK, and all that, talking about Black people leaving the US, leaving the West, and coin under the word Blaxit, right? Which is reminiscent of the word Brexit, with England leaving the European Union, right? So same thing. It's just about basically talking about how Black people are leaving America to go abroad. Okay, it could be Africa, it could be Europe, it could be anywhere else, like just in general. But in our case, we are thinking about leaving. First of all, we're not thinking that it could be a permanent. So we're looking at it as a move, but we're not set in stone as of, okay, how long are we going to be out for? And two, we are set in stone on where it should be. So we're not really looking at Europe or South America or Asia or anything like that. We really, really know that it's going to be on the continent. We know that if we're leaving, then we know exactly where we want to go. We want it to be in Africa. So I have a video that talks about the 10 reasons why we want to make that move. And for a lot of people, the reasons are, socioeconomical. So either to have a lower cost of living, or because of cultural and social issues like racism and things like that. That is not actually on the top of my list, to be honest. But what is on top of the list for me, it's more lifestyle, a change, because we just we're like, you know what, why not something different, why not something new, because we're kind of in the same routine. And I think that COVID has kind of made things a little, not monotone, but it has really showed that there are a lot of things that you can do online. And so running your businesses online allows you to be anywhere, because as long as you have an internet connection, then you're basically good, right? So there are a lot of reasons why we are considering that move abroad. And so I would love to know about your own reasons. So if you want to let me know in the chat, type the reasons why you are trying to make your own Blaxit. Let me know in the chat as well. Okay. So today I really wanted to cover a few points to help you set yourself up with that process and how to really get started. And so there are three main points that I wanted to cover. And the first point is really about why you want to move. So understanding yourself, understanding why is it so important for you to move, and the reason why you want to move. Like I said, I did a video and I always talk about that. I did a video about the 10 reasons why, main reasons why we are considering living. My reasons are not your reasons. They could be similar, they could be the same, but it's very important to know what your reasons are, and to always keep that in the back of your mind, because at some point you're going to doubt yourself. You're going to say, why are we doing this in the first place? Or, things are not going to go as planned. Okay, so that's why you really want to be able to have a clear idea of, okay, what is the vision? What is the goal? What is the purpose of doing this in the first place? Okay, so number one, that you have to take into consideration before you do anything is understanding why you want to move, why you want to Blaxit, why you want to go outside of where you already are. Okay. So, second thing that you have to look at is what is stopping you from living. Okay. What is stopping you from living? And this is where we're going to spend most of our time talking. And those are the limitations that you have right now. Why aren't you out there yet? Okay. There are certain reasons. Maybe it's financial, maybe it's logistical, whatever the reasons are, we have to be able to identify what those reasons are. Why aren't you there yet? What is stopping you from doing that? And you need to have a list. Okay. Just like you need to have a list of reasons why you want to make the move, you need to have a list of what is actually stopping you. You need to be clear on that. Number three, the third thing that you really have to think about is what you still need to do or have in order to make it happen. So it's very related to the second point. The second point is really to know, okay, what is stopping me? And then three, what you need to know or what you need to do or have in order for these barriers to get rid of these barriers, basically, right? In order to make it happen. So when you're thinking about, okay, these are the reasons why I want to move, regardless of your reasons why, and the reasons why you haven't moved yet. Most people will move. People move all the time, right? When it comes to work or pleasure. We're not talking about people who have to move because of political reasons or, against their will. We're talking about work or pleasure, people who are voluntarily moving abroad. So you have to remember that it's possible, first of all. You have to remember that it's not odd for you to want to move and leave where you are right now. It's something very normal, very common that people do all around the world. And maybe it's not very common in your small community or your entourage, but it's something that people do all the time, whether it's for school, for work, or just for pleasure because they're bored of the life that they have right now. So understanding that is very, very important. That way you can give yourself permission to actually even think about living, giving yourself permission to even consider the option of living and leaving people who live around you, whether it's family or friends. Okay, so give yourself permission to even have those thoughts. Now, when it comes to what's stopping you, which is the second main point of this whole preparation, is that you have to look at. Most people will say these are the main, barriers, the main challenges that they have when it comes to moving abroad, and specifically when it comes to moving to Africa. One is picking the destination. As simple as it is. Picking the destination is the first challenge. Then is the money, okay, how to make it happen. And those apply to any destinations, by the way. Three will be family situations, whether it's kids, grandparents, so on and so forth. And with all of these things, and I think particularly when it comes to Africa, is the irrational and the rational fears that people have, that a lot of people have. We all have that friend or that family members that will say, oh, Mexico is dangerous. Well, now imagine if you told that same person that you were moving to Africa, they'll be like, you are out of your mind. They will lose it, right? Because if Mexico is dangerous for them, then they will say, oh no, going to Africa is like the worst thing you could do. Okay. So there are rational and irrational fears that you may have or that the people around you may have. And those are the things that we can talk about as well. Okay. So let's go into the first thing, which was how to pick your destination. In our case, we were set on two destinations like Cameroon and Cote d'Ivoire. There are personal reasons why we're picking these two. At the beginning, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, I actually talked about three destinations: Morocco, Cote d'Ivoire, and Ivory Coast, because those are the three connections that we personally have with the continent. Morocco is where I was born and raised. Cote d'Ivoire is where my best friends live. Cameroon is where my husband grew up. Okay. So those are our own personal connections. I forgot. I have actually a fourth connection. The DRC is actually where my family is from. Okay. I've never lived in the DRC, but that's where my family is from. So that's a fourth connection. But we were considering the first three. Okay. Then we were like, okay, if based on the lifestyle that we want to have and based on our top priorities and our top reasons, we were like, okay, we want it to be a Black majority. So obviously we have to take Morocco out. Okay. So Cameroon and Cote d'Ivoire are our top two. Okay. Again, if you want to know the 10 main reasons, go to the video, go back to that video where I talk about those 10 reasons. Okay. So you have to look at what are your personal connections that you already have. Do you have a friend somewhere? Do you have family members? Do you have people that you know in that destination? And there are actually pros and cons of picking a destination where you actually know people. One is because an advantage, obvious advantage, that you're going somewhere where you actually know somebody. So that's going to be an easy transition for you. You're not just going in blind. You have people who can actually help you once you get there. The inconvenience of that is that you might be put in certain boxes because you already have people there. So you might be pushed to live in a certain area because that's where the family is, things like that. So there are pros and cons. I would say there are definitely more pros to having family members and friends at the destination. So I would say it's mostly an advantage to have that. So if you do have family or friends and in a specific country, there's 54 of them. So you get to pick the one that it will make more sense for you. Obviously, you have to do the research. Okay, you have to go and look online at as much information as you can. Now the thing is that you have to look at the relevant sources. So it's not just about watching the news, because there's negativity everywhere in all the news, right? I mean, if you were just watching the news about the US, you would never come to the US, right? Who would come to a country where there's like shootings almost every day, like even school shootings, right? So don't rely your research just based on the news, okay? Not just that. It's important, sure, but don't just do it based on what you see in the news. Do some YouTube searches. So other channels just like mine, where you have YouTubers who actually live in that country, in the top countries that you're considering. Check out their social media on Instagram, on TikTok, anywhere where people actually share their experience of living in that country. That is always very authentic and very helpful. So check out social media. That would be a great, great resource for you. Obviously, Google is a great resource, but another way to look at how things are like, or how life is like in that country, mostly in the political and economical standpoint, I would say look at the US Embassy at that destination. So look at the programs that they're putting together. Look at the kind of activities that they have on the ground, or the kind of, all kinds of activities that the embassies would have on the ground will give you a little bit a sense of how is, let's say, the American presence in that country. How is the relationship between that country and the US or the UK, wherever you are from, right? So look at those things, how they are. Hey, Dyson. Thank you for joining live. So look at those things, how they're explained, and how you can get some clues based on the things that you see on social media and on the US Embassy's website. Okay, that will help you get a sense of, okay, if it's a country where you might feel safe, a country where you feel like you would feel welcome or not. Okay, so based on these things, do your research on those platforms to help you make that decision. Okay. Also, on a personal standpoint, look at what you like. Are you more of a mountain person? Are you more of a beach person? Like for somebody who was to consider, I don't know, let's say Morocco, for example. Morocco has all kinds of weather. You can go in the south and have the dry weather. You can go in the interior and have the mountains. You can go up north, where I grew up, and have the beach. So it's really up to what you want. So even if you were to consider, okay, let's say you want to go to Morocco, well, Tangier at the north is extremely different from Marrakesh in the south, which is also very different from Fez in the interior, or Essaouira on the other coast, right? So you have to know what you want to live with, what are the things that are important to you, and pick a country that has those things. Okay, so don't say that, oh, you're really into, you want to have ocean view, and you go to, I don't know, Niger, for example, which is like in the middle, like continental, right? Doesn't have the beach, right? So make sure you have those on your checklist. Another thing you can check as well is culture, language, religion. How important are these things for you? Is it important for you that they speak English in that country or not? If English is one of the official languages, is there any other language that is widely spoken more than English? Would that be a problem for you or not? For example, in Senegal, even though French is an official language, most people speak Wolof. And so a lot more people will speak Wolof than they will speak French, even though French is the administrative language. And you can say that most people speak French, but probably not, right? So would that be a problem for you? Okay. So for us, for example, even though we are English speaking, my husband and I are also French speaking. So I wanted I wanted to pick a country where our kids would be able to easily learn another language, easily learn and speak French. Okay. So even though I could teach them French, it's just very hard. It's very hard to teach a language, and like for me to teach them French, knowing that they have English everywhere around them. Because at home we don't speak French. I don't speak French with my husband. We speak English to each other. So it's very challenging for me to just switch and speak to them in French only. Okay, so but being in an environment where French is widely spoken around them, that makes it a lot easier. Okay. I can give you an example. My own example is that growing up in Morocco, Arabic is an official language, right? As well as French. So growing up in Morocco, we went to French schools and we spoke French at home. In Morocco, everybody speaks Arabic in the street, right? So we learned Arabic. But the particularity, again, like I was saying earlier, is that Morocco is so diverse. And so in the north, we also speak Spanish because we're so close to Spain and we get Spanish television. So we learned Spanish as well. And we happened to go to an American church. So, hey, we learned English as well. So you see that how the environment where you get to live will impact how how you get to speak certain languages or not. So take that into consideration as well. The language, the culture, religion as well, if that is important for you. Okay. Another one that you definitely have to take into consideration when it comes to picking your country is economic development. And that can transpire through, let's say, infrastructure. How are the roads, hospitals, how are schools, like access to certain things that are considered basics, but how easily accessible are these and how important that is for you. If it's not important, and if you're thinking of living, let's say, in the more of a remote area, more power to you. Maybe you don't need all of that, okay? But if you're saying, oh, well, you want to live in a capital city or the big metropolitan area, and you want these things on your list, like good healthcare system, great international schools, great roads, and all of that, then you have to take that into consideration. But if you're thinking about, okay, living in a village or something like that, well, those things might not be as important to you. So I mentioned healthcare. Obviously, that's very, very important. So access to that. And one thing, funny enough, one thing that a lot of people say, and that is a big fear, I guess, irrational fear that people have, is that, I guess, it's rational and irrational at the same time. So the rational part is will I have, what happens if I get sick? Okay. So it's normal to be scared of that. Now, here's the thing. The irrational part of that statement is that you're assuming that other foreigners don't get sick there. So what do they do when they get sick? Well, they go to the hospitals, right? Think about all the embassy staff. What do? If they get sick, they go to the hospital. Their preferred hospitals or preferred doctors or things like that, for most than likely it's going to be private. But it's not like there's no healthcare. It's not like there's no hospital. There's not like, sure, if you go to a public hospital, maybe it's not going to be up to your standards. Sure, coming from America, maybe it's not going to be up to your standards. I don't know, maybe it will. But the point is that sometimes we have irrational fears about certain things, and we forget that there are people just like us living in those countries, right? So it's no, sure, if it's something very um, serious, like let's say cancer treatment or something like that, sure. In that case, maybe certain treatments might not be available. I'm not saying that they are not, depending on your destination, they might not be. Okay, and in that case, you have to make informed decision about, okay, what do you do in that case if that's what's happening. But just to say, well, there's no health care there, that's an irrational statement to make. Okay. So safety as well. Earlier, I talked about how if you only base your decision on what you see in the news, nobody would come to the US because technically it's not safe. I don't have the data right now, but there's a ranking of the safest countries in the world, and the US are not number one. I can tell you that much. They're not number two. I don't think we're in the top 50 of the safest countries in the world. But nobody bats an eye when they say, okay, we're going to the US, because, we have this perception that, okay, it's safe, but we don't have the perception of safety outside of the US. A lot of people will say, well, Africa is not safe. Well, based on what? Why do you say that? Well, it's because of, the movies and because of the news that we show about Africa is always like poverty and wars and things like that, which is, yes, there's that, but it's not just that. Okay. So just like in the US, there's a lot of shootings, but it's not just shootings. Okay. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. Okay. So when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to safety, look at what's important for you and really trying to look at it from a rational angle and do the research, and where would be the clinics that you would go to if you or your family members get sick, and get that information as well. Most US Embassy websites will have a list of preferred providers when it comes to lawyers, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to different services, and you can go and look on their website. They will have a list of those providers for you, and then you can go and check them out, look at their facilities, their websites, and even reach out to them and see what kind of care they can provide. Okay, so that's something that you can definitely do. Obviously, cost of living. Cost of living is really important because this can be a do or die for you. If the cost of living is and that's the thing. That's a perception that we also have when it comes to Africa. We see Africa poor, Africa cheap, but it's very far from the truth. Very, very far from the truth. And I've done a lot of videos about that. And let's realize that the cost of living can be higher than the cost of living here in the US. Yeah, surprisingly. And in some areas, it could be lower and you're going to save a lot of money. Cameroon, for example, Cameroon is a good example. In one of the videos that I did, I think we could cut our cost of living by two or three, almost three, right? By moving to Cameroon. However, by moving to Cote d'Ivoire, it would be slightly cheaper for us in terms of cost of living. Okay. If you were to move to Morocco, it would probably cut in two, if not three, maybe two, right? So you have to look at these things and do your budget. Okay. I have a budget resource. I'm going to link it in the description of this video, or you can look in my about section on the channel. I have a budget there for you, free resources you can get access to determine your budget and the things, the items that you have to take into consideration into your budget, from internet to food to clothing, all these things, right? And just like in a regular budget. So these are things that you want to take into consideration. Be realistic with your budget and also look at the right numbers. So a lot of people online will say, well, it cost us, let's say, $3,000 to live in Cameroon. Okay, based on what? Are you living there by yourself? Are you a family of six? Are you a family of two? What are the criteria? So don't just look at the numbers and just take them, but analyze the numbers. What does that mean for them, for that person, and what would it mean for you? So that's something really, really important to look at when it comes to the cost of living. At the end of the day, when it comes to picking your destination, something that I always advocate for is to go on a recon trip. Call it a recon trip, call it an exploratory trip, call it a scouting trip, however you want to call it. But this is basically you traveling to that place, that country that you are considering, and spending some time there. Even if you were to spend a week, which is not a lot, but spending some time there to check it out, get a sense of, how it would be like for you to live there. Don't go there in tourist mode and stay at a hotel and do all the touristy thing, because that's not what you would do if you were to move there. But have a realistic sense of what it would be like to be there. Go and shop at the market, stay at an Airbnb, go check out the schools, take local transportation, public transportation, do all of the things that you would probably do if you were to live there, just to give you a good sense of what life would be like for you there. And you can do one scouting trip, you can do more than one. It's up to you until you get a sense of, okay, I can see myself living there. Or maybe you're like, you know what, this is not for me. Next country, I'm going to try something else. Okay, so scouting trip is something that I definitely, definitely recommend you do before you say yes to that country. Okay, so this is when it comes to picking a destination. These are all the things that I would say you need to take into consideration, from if you have family members there doing the research. What are your criteria? Cost of living, healthcare, safety, all of these things, political stability, and make sure that you are using the right uh, sources. Okay. Second point is your family situation. That's something that is stopping a lot of people, whether they say that they have kids or maybe they say that they have aging parents. And it's never an easy solution, an easy answer to give for people who are in that situation, because it's very subjective. It depends on your situation, obviously. And you really have to decide on what is best for you. Even if it sounds selfish, you have to go back to why. Why do you want to do this move? Why is it so important for you to move? Is if it's for your own, let's say, sanity and your mental health. But at the same time, if you're staying and you're your life is deteriorating. I can say it, and things are getting really, really bad for you, then is it worth it for you to stay? Right? So balance the pros and the cons, and okay, understand, okay, if this is the right thing for you to do. Not everybody's going to agree with your decision. Not all of your family members are going to say, oh, yeah, this is a great idea. Go for it. See you in 5 years. No, most family members will be like, you know what? I don't think that's a good idea. Why do you want to do that? Or, hey, I read this article where they have shootings here, or I read this article where, they kidnap people here, or there's a disease there, or right? They're always going to try to protect you. And, out of love, they're going to share information that might not be relevant to you because they want to protect you. Okay. So now it's up to you to decide, okay, what do you do with that information? Is it like you know what? Thank you very much. Thank you for your concern, but I've already made my decision. Or maybe you don't even involve your family in that decision process. Maybe you do the whole planning on your own. And then let's say 6 months before departure time, you're like, you know what? This is what we've decided to do as a family, and we are going to move to Africa, and this is where we're going to go. Okay. So it just depends on your family dynamic and what you want to share and what you choose not to share. You don't have to share everything, mostly when you know that you have these specific people in your family who are going to do everything in their power to discourage you from going. Again, you're going to have doubts through this process of planning, and it's normal. Sometimes the doubt will come from yourself, sometimes it will come from your entourage. So, what you have to do is go back to your why and go back to, okay, trust the process and understand why it's so important for you to actually make that move. Okay. So, a lot of people say also when it comes to kids, and this scenario applies to people who just um, decide not to travel, not just even talking about moving abroad, just not to travel because they have kids. And I think that's a little sad because, you know, kids can adapt. So you can bring the kids along. Same thing when you move abroad. They have kids there. Okay. They have schools there. They have playgrounds there. They have everything that you would want your kids to have here, that you want your kids to have here. They would have it there most than likely. So that's not really a good excuse unless there are specific issues that you might be concerned with. Maybe it's because of a disability, maybe it's a health issue, maybe it's a age issue because maybe now they are teenagers and they're involved in all these sports activities, and it was very difficult for them to to make friends and all that, and now you don't really want to get them out of that situation. Sometimes in those cases, then waiting might be a good option, but you really have to consider maybe moving might make things a little better and easier for your kids. Kids are very resilient in general, better than adults. So you just never know how they're going to react and how they're going to adapt to that situation. Okay. So that's the second thing. What is stopping you is usually, okay, I don't know where to go. Then it's usually family situation. And last but not least is the money, which is usually the main reason why people are not making the move or they're delaying the move is because of the money situation. So here are a few scenarios. And I made a video on how to, um, the whole money situation and how to, I don't remember how I named that video, but it was basically how to make it happen when it comes to your finances. So if you have a job right now, and one thing that you can do is trying to see if if your company would allow you to work remotely. That's one thing that COVID showed us all, is that a lot of the things that we did in person can be done online on Zoom. Okay, so that's one option. See if they can change your role from an in person to a distant remote position. That's one thing. Second thing is to see if, for example, you're working in a multinational company, you're seeing if they have roles similar to what you're doing now, but if they have them at that destination, if they have a branch in Dakar, if they have a branch in Abidjan, you have a branch in Kinshasa, wherever you want to go, let's see if that company has a branch there, and then you would be appointed at that destination, at that branch over there. Okay, that's a second option that you can do. Third option could be to leave that job and get a new job that is remotely. So from a company, a US based company that would allow you to work remotely. And then in that case, you will be able to work from anywhere. Okay. A fourth scenario, and this is the one that I wouldn't really recommend. I mean, it depends on your situation, but is to find a job locally. Those are not, there are not a lot of jobs. Let's just say that way. There are not a lot of jobs. So because there are already people, local people who are actually looking for jobs. Okay. So now if you're adding yourself to that pile of people or that pool of people who are looking for jobs, well, it's not really helping you. And it's even not really helping you even if you were to be paid in the local currency. Okay. Ideally, what you want to do is to be paid in US dollars and spend that money locally instead of getting paid in the local currency because the wages will be a lot lower than US wages. Okay. So that's ideally what you want to be looking for. So yeah, so that's in terms of jobs, that's the four options that you may have. Another option, which is it's temporary, it's savings. So obviously you need to start saving your money to make the move because even the process of moving itself is quite expensive. If you want to ship things with you, the plane tickets, finding the apartment, putting down deposits, finding schools, all of that process is very, very expensive. So you need to have money with you when you leave. And that it's not like you're going to count on the money you're going to make once you're there, but you need to have money in hand before you leave. So savings is going to be very, very important. And I cannot say that enough. Do not count on your savings to live there because a lot of things can happen, one, and two, then that limits the amount of time you can stay there, the length of time you can stay. Because if you have savings for a year and you're not finding another job or another source of income, then you're limited to that 1 year because of your savings. But if you already have a source of income before you leave, then you have your savings, which is great in case of emergency, but you also have that income coming in anyways. So it's not limiting how long you can stay there. Okay, so that's very, very important when it comes to your saving. A third option, so jobs, savings. Another option that I think is very important, and that's the option that's the one that applies to me, is if you have a business. So same thing as a job that you can take anywhere, having your business that is remote. Having an online business is very, very, it's a great option because you can do that from anywhere in the world. You can take it to South Africa with you, you can take it to Morocco with you, you can take it to Senegal with you, anywhere you are, as long as you have an online connection, you can run your business. Okay, so that's the option that I would always push for, just because it gives you the most flexibility. But again, you have to have that set up before you leave. You can't just say, I mean, you can, but it's highly risky. You can't just go and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to start a business there. Sure, you can do that, but starting a business takes time, and having a successful business, growing and building a business takes time. So there's no guarantee that you're going to make money from the first week you're there, from the first month you're there, from the first 6 months that you're there, from the first year that you're there, because you're going to have so many costs up front. Okay. So again, it's very, very important for you to go with money in hand and have that income, that money that comes in regularly before you actually make that move. That way, that money situation, there's no problem with that. Okay. So again, those were the three things when it comes to what's stopping most people. It's usually, where do I start? So where do I go? Two is the family situation, and three is the money situation. Once you have these solved, most of the time people are like, you know what, I'm ready to go. So remember at the beginning, I talked about the three things that you really have to take into consideration, that you have to think about. Your why is number one. Two, what is stopping you? And we just covered these three main stops or challenges. And three, what you still need to do or have so that you can get rid of those challenges. So when it comes to the money, what do you need to do right now, today? How can you best prepare yourself financially to make that move? When it comes to the family situation, what can you do right now to better prepare yourself before you make that move? When it comes to picking the destination, what can you do right now to better prepare yourself into picking a destination? Do the research, go on Google, go on IG and follow some YouTubers, follow some influencers, so follow regular people who live in that country to see what they're sharing, what kind of information they're sharing. Okay, watch some news, but not too much because we know the news always shows the negative. But follow the embassy's websites as well and see how they're being involved in the country. Things like that that you can do right now, today, to better prepare for that move to Africa. Okay. Contact people in there, look at the schools, get in touch with the schools, ask questions. Those are the things that you can do right now to prepare yourself for that move. Okay. So, those are the things that I wanted to share with you guys today. One thing that I wanted to do is that I know that many of us are have passed the stage of thinking about it and are really in the stage of we are actively doing it. We're not all set with everything, but we are actively pursuing that goal of moving to Africa. And like we know our destination, we know where we're going. We're not all set on all the details, but we're more than likely we know that we definitely want to go, even if we don't know where exactly. But we already know that it's a yes, that we want to go, that we're clear on our why. And I wanted to create some kind of community where that is taking us outside of YouTube, where we get to exchange notes, where we get to support each other, where we get to have more accountability, because I need the accountability to make it happen. And I know that a lot of people need that accountability as well to make it happen. And that journey is challenging. There's a lot of doubts. A lot of people in our entourage might not understand why we're doing that and why we want to rock the boat. And so it's very important to have the support of like-minded people. And so I'm putting together a community. I don't know if it's going to be a Facebook group or something like that, where we actually get to exchange notes, where we actually get to talk about it in details more than I can share on my YouTube channel, because I can't just share everything. But that will be a place that is more, a safe place where we can share more information about our own doubts, our own fears, rational or irrational, about doing that journey. That way we know that we're not on that journey by ourselves. We know that there are other like-minded families doing the same thing as us, and we can all win in that journey. So I will share more details about that during the week, and let me know in the comments if you want to get more information about it, to find a way how you can be more supported, and where you can get more accountability as you are planning your own Blaxit to the motherland. All right, guys. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. And I wish you a wonderful evening. Enjoy the game. If you don't watch the game, that's fine. Enjoy the commercials and the halftime show. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll come back and read the comments and answer all the comments. If you have any questions about, if you want me to create a specific video on a question that you have, or you want me to clarify something, let me know and I will make sure to do that as well. All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, whether you're live or on the replay. I'll be talking to you soon. Bye.